For more now, we're joined by retired Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery. Thank you so much for joining us. What do you make of what happened at the Iranian school?
Look, if this was a U.S. attack, this really is unfortunate. I will say my experience is the United States does not intentionally target civilian infrastructures like a school or anything of the sort. So if this was the United States, it was an accident. I believe it will be found to be an accident. But I think you do a clear investigation, find out how it happened, both first so that you understand if you were responsible, but second, so that you can make sure you don't make this kind of mistake again in the future, if in fact it was a U.S. missile that hit the school.
How difficult is that to ascertain if it was a U.S. missile?
I think the United States is taking very good battle damage assessment looks. I think within reason, an investigating officer, without having to be on the ground, can determine what caused the strike at the school. Look, there's a small chance that you need assistance on the ground, and that will be difficult to get. But historically, with the kind of overhead imagery we have going to support the war effort and the future strike effort, we probably can get a good understanding of what hit it. Plus, we can take a look at our own targeting. We can take a look at what we tried to target. Was this actually a mistaken assignment of a target vice the poor performance of a missile?
And if this does turn out to be a mistake, what should happen next?
You find out why it happened, you correct that specific error, and then you create the conditions so you don't do it again. The most egregious aspect would be if you have an incident like this, you don't take corrective action, and it occurs again. That is the ultimate sign of failure. Obviously, it's unfortunate if it was the United States that did this, and that's what an investigation will determine.
What role do you believe that artificial intelligence should play in warfare?
Look, I think artificial intelligence is very helpful in accelerating the planning, the aspect of planning that's kind of boring and mendacious, right? That is tough to get through. But in actual target selection, humans should be involved in that. And then the final approval processes of a target deck, humans should be involved. This was a deliberate planning process. So I don't think we're going to find that artificial intelligence was it may have contributed, but it won't be found to be the final, determinative cause. That will be, if it was in fact a mistaken targeting effort by the United States, there is a human who made the error.
And lastly, if there is a particular aspect about this war that keeps you up at night, what might that be?
What concerns me the most about this war is if we don't fully remove Iran's ability to build ballistic missiles, nuclear facilities, and drones in the future. Too often we pull back prematurely from fully executing our mission. In my mind, it's critical we do that so that Iran cannot be a malicious force in the Middle East for the next 3 to 5 to 7 years. At a minimum, that's what we should achieve from our prolonged air campaign of 3 to 4 weeks.
Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery, we thank you so much for your insight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.